Okay, now I'll start. Okay, sir, go ahead. Go ahead, Manoj.
You can't hear me?
No, I can't hear you. Now I can hear you.
Okay. Om, Om, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswataya Namaha. Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. समस्त जन कल्याणे निरंतम करुणामयम् नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सन्दुरं ब्रह्मविद्धरम् ॐ सहनाववतु सहनो भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शांति 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 यतः सर्वाणि भूतानि प्रतीपान्ति स्थितानि च ऐत्रवोपशमं यान्ति तस्मै सत्यात्मने नमः ज्ञानात् ज्ञानं तथा श्रेयं द्रष्टा दर्शनद्रश्यम् कर्ता हेतु क्रिया यस्मत् तस्मै ज्ञानात्मने नमः स्फुरन्ति शिखरा यस्मात् दानन्दस्याम्बरे वनो सर्वेषां जीवनं तस्मै ब्रह्मानन्दात्मने नमः दिवि भुवौ तथाकाशे बहिरन्तस्वमे विभुः यो विभात्यवभास्मात्मा तस्मै सर्वात्मने नमः.
Very good.
Okay. I'm supposed to do the. Okay. So I thought in the book there is a story, but I read somewhere else, and I thought I go with the story first, and then we'll go to the chapter. So the Leela is the wife of King Padma, and she's very devoted to her husband. And if she says, if I passes away first, that's okay. But if he passes away, I cannot live. So she asked all the sages around, the good people around, can I make my husband never die? They say everybody who is born has to die. Then she meditated to the Saraswati for a long time and she got pleased with her and she says, I give you both. So she asked that when her husband dies, his soul should not go away and should stay in the room. Also, she says, she wishes that whenever I ask you to come, you come, Saraswati. And she Saraswati say, okay. Now they had a good life. Then the King Padma dies. And at that time, she remembers what Saraswati has said. So she kept the course in the room, went with the flowers. And then she remembered the Saraswati and she came. Uh, Now, Saraswati takes her to different world. And then he finds that there is a 16-year-old king mighty the kingdom. And uh, so then she tells me who he is. So she says, well, in the previous birth, there was a Brahmin named Vashishta and the wife Arundhati. And one day they saw a king with his petard passing by, and he said, I want to be king. So after when the Brahmin died, Arundhati burnt herself in the body with her husband. And then Saraswati said, then you were born as Padma and Leela. And she doesn't believe all this. So Saraswati uh, takes her to the different world. And so she can see now. So she can see the king Viduratha, present with his wife Leela. And then he died during the war. And then he comes in, and then he's born into the Padma's world. And uh, now this Padma again become uh, live. The soul go inside, and uh, then the king wakes up, and he sees Lila 1 and Lila 2, both. And also she sees the Saraswati uh, uh, on the sofa, on the king there. So he prays to her, and then King Padma and the Lalita 1 and Lalita 2 live for a long life. And they have been very, very good king. So what all this about we are talking about here is relativity in time and space. So we think this is the only word, this is the only thing, but that's not true. There is a lot of different planes. Uh, so first thing he says, okay, once you negate uh, bad stuff and once you get a knowledge, you become one enlightened and become one with the absolute. And then he sees that the world is blend with Brahman. So main thing is we have to remove the ignorance. One, the ignorance is basically Maya. And once you get free from Maya or the ignorance, then only you can get uh, enlightened. So Sri Vasistha explain again that if your mind thinks your one is the enemy, then it will be enemy. But if you think he is your friend, they will become friends. The world is sustained by Maya. And it's like a dream. In the same room, you have a different experience. So Sri Ram asks, and uh, so he tells you that these different words are there, and this is because of our consciousness. It's not like there is a different area or something, but this is just in our mind, kind of souls comes in. You get moksha if your jiva consciousness, if you understand what it is, then you can get moksha. When the soul moves toward the Brahman, it is toward the truth. But when the soul roams around the world and the possessions, it is moving to the falsehood and to falsehood. Also, Ramas, and then he says, ego has no reality, but it brings identification with our body and world, which is illusory, but it looks real. He explained that the knower within every human being sees all the illusion within itself. This knowing principle is the self. And once you know what is the self, you become Brahman and nothing else exists. When the illusion of the Maya is removed, you become the supreme word. Perception of all this world is due to mind, destruction of the mind. The word ceases to exist. This can be done persistently by telling yourself, I'm the self. And there's a person development, detachment from the worldly. He continues to the path of wisdom, and gradually the delusion goes away and he get liberation. So main thing is remove the desires of objects of the world, remove the ego senses, and all the desires goes away, and individual become one with the cosmic self. I think this is really a nice story by, we had in a different world, different plane, and this was told so many years ago. So it was very interesting, very illuminating. Ariel.
Very nice. Nice for summarizing, Manoj. So you can see the time, space, and objects are illusions in this pure existence consciousness bliss Brahman. So because of the Maya of the mind, that we are identified with the body and we have so many desires. And once you get rid of all the desires, know that intellectually know that we are that Atman and continue to meditate on that I am that self, that one gets liberated. So that's the essence of it. And all the scriptures talk about the same thing. So you go to section 62 in page 283.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Manoj.
Okay. The vision that leads to liberation. 3 Vasishta continued. O Rama, divide an atom into a millionth part. Even in that minute fragment, there exist thousands of worlds. Again, if you were to seek a minute atom in any of these worlds, you would find that it is indwelt by numerous worlds. There are worlds within worlds. The miracle of a pure consciousness is bewildering to the human imagination. All the way to the past, of the present, and of the future are sustained by the ocean. In the same way, all possible creations in the past, present, and the future are sustained by pure consciousness. Since the world is indwelt by divine consciousness, there is order, harmony, and intelligent meaning behind all that is. It is the divine will in the beginning of creation that continues to sustain all the laws of the practical life as long as that creation lasts. It is by the power of the divine will that fire burns, water extinguishes fire, and the breeze blows. The world is controlled by the divine will, but the divinity is not different from his will. The creation is not different from divinity. All this is Brahman, the divine self.
Yeah.
So here, Vasishta still explaining more to Rama that, the parts, you look like this is the smallest part. If it is in, there's more, million more than them. So there are still more. So there is a different kind of numerous worlds. So these are the world within the words. So if you have a pure consciousness, and then you get this is a human imagination. So this is like in the sea, there are all different waves. Same way, uh, Creation of the past, present, or the future is sustained by consciousness. So there is in the divine world, there is a beginning of the creation, then that continues to sustain, and as long as that creation lasts. And this is all by the divine will. That's the one which do everything. And uh, divinity is just God's will. Creation is not different from divinity. It's part of the Brahman self. So this is all part of the Brahman. This is the only, everything is through him. Hariyo.
Very nice. So, okay. So the same story about the uh, illusion of space and time is continued here. That we imagine that Brahman being Bruhat means, oh, this universe is there, so Brahman is beyond, even bigger than the universe. So we continue to think in terms of space. Okay. But if we mind becomes completely quiet, and what remains is just pure awareness. That awareness alone is Brahman. Only when we realize that awareness and being able to sustain it and live like that, then we will understand all these things. The theory becomes more experiential. So until then, that we have to accept this and keep that goal of the liberation, the knowledge. But as long as we are sustained in in this world of duality, there are various laws by which the world is sustained. What the elements are, and what their each nature is, what the nature of gravity, nature of time, nature of space, all these rules and that physical and chemical laws that we study, all of them are from the divine will. But once we go beyond it, then there is that pure awareness beyond space, time, and object. So, Maya here. Maya, you want to read, Amma?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Amma.
Okay, okay. The same Brahman is described as Mahasatta, the great existence, Mahachitti, the great consciousness, Mahashakti, the great energy, Mahadrishti, the great vision, Mahakriya, the great action, Maha uh, Mahodhava, the
Mahodbhava.
great creation, and in Mahas Panda, the great vibration. But in fact, it is only Brahman who pervades this world, assuming different aspects of his glory. Just as ocean waves are pervaded by the ocean, so this world is pervaded by the Brahman. It is merely the illusion of the mind that shows a distinction between the world and Brahman. When this illusion is overcome, the world does not exist. Brahman alone is. The wise man should not turn away from his self effort and rely upon destiny. Even those who seem to be sustained by destiny have attained that state as a result of their self effort alone. It is by their self effort that they have given meaning to a fiction's fictitious destiny, destiny, and thus they seem to be controlled by it. The karmas of the past assume the role of destiny in the present life.
Want to comment?
Yeah, the whole thing is saying Brahman is alone everything. I mean, he is great existence, the great consciousness, great energy, great vision, great action, great creation is, and a great even vibration, but is nothing but is all him, and different aspect of his glories. All those things is aspect of his glories, but it's all Brahman. And then he said, it is a mere illusion of mind that we see different. So that's the illusion of our mind. He said the wise should not turn away from the self effort. It means, the wise people should not say, oh, as will happen, whatever is my destiny. It should not be. It should be doing the effort to do the right thing. And so, Hari Om, that's all what I understood.
Good, beautiful, very nice. So everything is nothing but that Brahman. That's what the first paragraph beautifully says. And the last paragraph we see that there's nothing called destiny. It is all cause and effect from one's own self-effort. And so whether it is you have worldly objective goals, or whether you have
अरे इसने पता नहीं all the way pull कर दिया फिर भी अब calling him up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that.
okay, thank you. So whether it is in the you have worldly goals still or the spiritual goal, you cannot say, oh, whatever will happen. If I'm supposed to become realized, I'll get realized. You don't sit. You have to put your self effort. So that's why Chinmaya Swami always said that do something. Okay, you can't just sit. And even you appreciated even the people who put various self efforts and sports or art or other things and achieved high goals, because they were putting self effort in whatever the field they are. And only by exhausting their vasanas they continue to spiritually grow. So that's the most important thing we have to remember. Nag, you want to continue, sir?
Hari Om, sir.
Yeah, sir.
A wise man should not stop his efforts to attain the goal of life. Even those who adopt the attitude of a python and depend upon destiny for whatever may develop in their life cannot remain without effort. Even a python needs to hold its prey in its mouth and swallow it in order to satisfy his hunger. Even the food that is provided by destiny needs to be eaten with a little effort. The wise man promotes that destiny that leads him to liberation. It is by his self effort alone that a yogi learns to control his pranas or to ascend the ladder of meditation and samadhi. Therefore, a yogi controls his destiny with his self effort by urging the divine will to lead his efforts to the crowning success of self realization. See, it is in a way, well, I cannot argue with what Sri Vashishta is saying, but it is destiny, I would think, that brought me to this satsang. Otherwise, I would be sitting in a movie theater or do something. Yes, I make an effort to come and turn on the monitor to get into the Zoom, but the destiny brought me to Cinema Mission to begin with.
Divine grace.
Divine grace, and I think my destiny brought me to Cinema Mission. Then I put my effort to turn on the Zoom to sit in the satsang, and that's what I think.
Okay.
But
You say it's a destiny. Okay. But how did this destiny happen just for you, not for so many other people? Okay. So it must have been your own vasanas and past actions in a sattvic life interested in your spiritual goal that has led you to the Chinmaya mission. Okay. That's how I look at it. It doesn't just happen accidentally. Otherwise, then you will say Bhagavan is meddling with my life. Okay. So
But
Bhagavan,
Rajini, in the
Bhagavan is,
last paragraph, the last line, it says that the karmas of the past assume the role of destiny in the present life.
correct.
That one line is actually that I think you explained it well now.
Right. So, so you know, that's one thing we have to keep on contemplating and very, very clear. Whatever, like it said in this today's reading, whatever the destiny that we are experiencing now is because of our past self-effort. And whatever the self-effort we put, it becomes our destiny in the future.
I can relate to what happened in my life, that if you want to talk about destiny and self-effort, the Swami Chinmayananda I have seen when I was in medical college. Everybody was going because he used to come to Karnool. I went to medical college in Karnool, and the temple was across the Handri River on the other side of the river, but it's, we have path to go and all that. And every year he comes there and has the Gnana Yajna and goes. We never went there or anything. And that time, about 5, 6 of us, all ladies, we said, they talk so much about Swami Chinmayananda. Can we go and see how he looks like? I am telling you, the sentence is exactly that what we talked. How he looks like. So we walked from the hostel. We went to the temple, walked there, and sat there for a little while. He was, as usual, Bhagavad Gita Gnana Yajna he was doing. I sit there and we watched him and we listened to it and all those things. And after half an hour or so, 20 minutes to half an hour, we said, let's go back. We don't understand half of what he's talking about. We have seen him. Now we can go back. We went back and finished my medicine. I came out and I have, got married and I came here. All this. Why I'm saying is, if you are talking about destiny, I should have started right then and there and keep going. He had a whole week of Bhagavad Gita there. We didn't go back. We went only for half an hour, as I told you, and came back. And I never even thought about Swami Chinmayananda, if you want to listen that. And only time after coming here, after coming exactly to Atlanta, and my husband got involved. Even then, I used to go with him only once in a while. I didn't go and sit with all the things that he did. Slowly, later on, maybe 10 years, 15 years after that, I started completely getting involved with that. What do you think it is? Only destiny or self-effort and destiny both have to be there, or self-effort has to be there more than the destiny?
Yeah. Success breeds success. Failure breeds failure. If you think I'm a failure and you keep thinking like that, okay. So either just like a ball falling down step by step, step by step, step by step. If you're falling, you continue to go down. But if you continue to put yourself effort, it is going against your tendencies, so it will be harder. But as you continue to make progress, it becomes easier and easier. So very good. And Rakesh ji is not going to be here. Ratnama, you want to continue with the chapter 63, please?
Okay. Section 63. Brahman appears as the world process through Maya. Sri Vashishta continued. Through the power of Maya, Brahman is capable of assuming all forms, everywhere and at all times. Brahman is all pervading, the essence of all that exists. Qualified by the effects of Maya, Brahman becomes Jiva. Through the internal organs, the mind, intellect, chitta, and ego. Through Sattva, he expresses peace and harmony. Through Rajas, he manifests attachment and greed. Through tamas, he assumes the role of inert objects. There is no difference between Brahman and the powers of Brahman that manifest through Maya. The difference is maintained from a practical point of view. For those who are enlightened, there is no difference between Maya and the divine self, who wields the power of Maya. So actually, the divine power is the one who wields the Maya, and everything is actually, it is Brahman. But it is qualified by the effect of Maya. Because of that, Brahman becomes Jiva when he is attached to the desires. Then he becomes Jiva through the internal organs, the mind, intellect, chitta, and ego. He expresses peace and harmony. Rajas is the one causes attachment and greed, and tamas, of course, assumes the role of inert objects. Hari Om.
Yeah, that second paragraph is beautifully explained in the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. And so we all are a combination of all the three in different proportions. If sattva is maximum, then you will have peace of mind and spiritual aspirations. Rajas is predominant, then you will have interest in the worldly things, achievements of worldly goals. With tamas, you are more interested in the pleasure of sleep and procrastination. So I want to read from the original book the two verses for these two paragraphs. It says, this essence is the spirit or soul whose omnipotence develops itself sometimes in the form of intellectual activity and sometimes in the tranquility of the soul. Sometimes it shows itself in the momentum of bodies, and at others in the force of passions and emotions of the soul. Sometimes as something in the form of creation, and at another as nothing in the annihilation of the world. Whenever it realizes itself anywhere in any form or state, it is then viewed in the same manner at the same place and time. The spirit realizes itself in one form or the other of its own free will. The absolute omnipotence manifests itself as it likes and appears to us, and all its powers are exhibited in one form or the other to our view and understanding. So all this that we see here is nothing but that Brahman alone. Once we realize that, then we see everything, though the names and forms remain, but everything appears as that Brahman alone. Because the vision is of our intuitive vision, not the understanding from the intellect and the senses. So, beautiful. Okay. Next is Sarvesh ji. You want to read, sir? He's not there. Okay.
It's not there.
Shobnam, not here. And Sudhir ji.
Hari Om Devaji.
Yes, sir.
When seen through intuition vision, this entire world is Brahman. It is the ignorant who maintain the difference between Brahman and the world process. The idea that Brahman possesses Maya, that the world is an expression of Maya, or that Brahman is the body and the world is world a part of his body are based upon ignorance. There is no such difference between the world and Brahman. Qualified or limited by ignorance, it is it is pure consciousness which assumes the role of the individual soul and continues to flow through the world process according to the direction of its movement, led by the instruction of the scriptures.
You have to stop. You have to put a stop at the right place. Would you mind reading it again?
Qualified or limited by ignorance, it is pure consciousness which assumes the role of the individual soul and continues to flow through the world process according to the direction of its movement, led by the instruction of the scriptures. You want me to continue, Reggie?
See, you did the same mistake again. Say, it stops at movement and then you continue to reading. Led by the instructions of the scriptures, it rises to this expanding horizons of its intrinsic glory.
Yeah, that's what my next page was. I was telling.
Yeah, would you mind reading that?
Yeah, led by the instructions of the scriptures, it rises to the expanding horizons of its intrinsic glory. On the other hand, driven by the illusions of the ego and going against the scriptural wisdom, it continues to whirl in the cycle of birth and death. Whatever becomes deeply impressed upon the mind is considered one's duty. One follows a course of movement, whether it is positive or negative. All the developments in one's lives are result of the working of his own will. And more truly, they are expressions of his own intrinsic self, since he is essentially the self and not this limited personality.
Comment?
Yeah, it just saying it is actually just reiterating that Brahman is everything. There is no difference between Brahman and Brahman's power, and there is no separate like the Brahman is different, Maya is different, or else the world as we know is a part of Brahman. They are not. There is no difference between the world and Brahman itself. And also it actually giving one additional instruction for us, actually saying that the world process is actually going uh, as per the instructions of our scriptures. Okay, I think at least I would say that all the instructions, I think, as our our ancestors or else rishis actually found the instructions. Okay, and these instructions, this world is actually more the continues to flow through the world process as per the instruction of the scriptures, and then this the other one is actually the world as we see is because of our illusion, or else our illusion of the ego. Because I am the one, and because I am in this world, I am separate. So there is a it is actually but our scripture is actually teaching us we are not we are the self, we are not separate, there is no duality. And but that is what actually that that means that the direction of the word and the instructions of the direction. So here what it says that the illusion is actually happening because of our ego. That means, and that is ego is because of our ignorance. And and also another one is, and the last paragraph it says you have to continue whatever you have to continue to do your duty, whatever it is, whether it is positive or negative. They are, I mean, because here nothing, there is nothing called a negative or positive here. Everything is an expression.
but we have to read it clearly, understand this one here. Okay. So the individual jiva, its activities continues to flow, okay, like a river. Okay. But if a person follows the instructions of the scriptures, then he will go against the tendencies of the duality, and he goes into expanding horizons of intrinsic glory. That is, he goes towards the Atman. Because just by looking at the world, one is not able to tell that, hey, this is illusion, and it looks very real, and he gets completely attached and engulfed in it. Only by studying the scriptures, there arises that thought, hey, this ego is false, that this world is nothing but Brahman, and that I want to realize. But on the other hand, because of the illusory world, that you don't believe the scriptures or you didn't get an opportunity to understand the scriptures, then you go against the scriptural wisdom. That means gets attached to the world with what we call putreshana, lokeshana, and vitheshana. Then they continue to be born in cycle of birth and death. And uh, one follows the course of movement, whether it's positive or negative. But we are not telling, he's not telling that one should follow positive or negative. But we do that. Okay, we think I am right. If I am selfish, I think, oh, everybody is doing that. I have to be selfish. Oh, if I have to step on somebody, if I have to lie, if I have to cheat, if I have to kill, that's okay. That's the negative. But nobody is telling that one should do like that. Okay. One follows the course of movement, whether it's positive or negative. But all the developments of one's life are the results of the workings of his own will. So if it's positive or negative. So positive leads to the growth, negative leads to the uh, animal life. So we'll continue. And Uma Shankar, you want to continue, Uma?
Yeah. Conscious is the reality behind the mind and objects. Sri Vashishta continued, O Rama, through the veil of ignorance, the illusory mind arises from Brahman. Having arisen, the mind projects the world process. All objects of enjoyment are essentially mental creations. The entire visible world is sustained by the vibrations of the mind. When the mind is transcended, all multiplicity of this world, such as Brahma, the creator, Jiva, the individual soul, mind, Maya, or cosmic illusion, subject, action, and the world process all disappear. Brahman, the substratum alone remains. The individual soul is like tiny whirlpool in the boundless ocean of its own essential being, Brahman. The absolute self, since it is unstable, it is illusory and false. But because it is perceptible in this practical world, it is considered as real.
Want to comment? So the same thought process, that the veil of ignorance is the cause for this multiplicity, the duality of like a creator, created, and creation. This knower, knowing, and the knowledge. The actor, the action, and the result. All these triputis are because of the uh, duality of the jiva and the world. which is called a cosmic illusion.
It's not real.
From the absolute point of view, it is not real. And once you theoretically understand it, that you are part of that Brahman, and then you put your effort to turn and experience that. That is knowledge or realization. Is Veena ji here today? No. Vishwa, you want to? Oh, Veena ji is here. Hari Om. Read the next 3 paragraphs, please.
The shifting dreams of a dreamer are illusory. The dreamer himself is the reality behind the dreams. In the same way, Brahman is the reality behind the long dream of the world process. This world is neither existent nor non-existent. It is neither created nor dissolved. It is an expression of the illusory chitta, mind stuff. It is false. This nameless, limitless Brahman becomes, as it were, slightly inclined to objectivity. Thus, chitta, mind stuff, is formed. From chitta, there arises the jiva, individual soul. Jiva gives rise to the ego sense, which through further intensification assumes the form of an individual mind. The objects of the world towards which jiva develops, the attitude of the attachment and mindness arise from the same chitta. This involvement is illusion, is the cause of bondage and therefore of release as well. So here he's saying, just like the dream is illusory, but the dreamer is reality, the same way Brahman is reality behind the long dream of this world. The world is neither existent and nor existent. It is just because of our chitta, we see the world. And because of our mindness and mind, the illusion is caused. And because of this illusion, the bondage is caused.
Yeah.
Hari Om.
Yeah. Because of the activity of the mind or the chitta, the world is formed. So, you withdraw the chitta, it becomes pure chit, the consciousness. And the multiplicity, duality disappears. So, Vishwanathan, continue.
Ravi, a question on that. Can you just a little bit explain more on that? The nameless, limitless.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
And a third paragraph, first line, right? Slightly inclined to objectivity. I thought Brahma, thus chitta is formed.
Right.
Is it this slightly inclined means it is related with the Maya or what?
Yeah, that's the only thing. That's right. As it were. The limitless Brahman becomes as it were. Okay. That's the power of Maya. Slightly inclined to objectivity. Thus chitta or the mind stuff is formed. So for me, all these are just try to give an explanation to the world of duality that you and I are experiencing.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, Vishwanathan, you want to continue, sir?
Hari Om, Raghuji. I don't have my book with me. I'm out of town, Raghuji. I'll skip reading.
Okay. Akila.
Hari Om, Raghuji. There is no difference between the absolute self and the individual soul. There is no difference between the individual soul and the chitta, the mind stuff. There is no difference between the soul, its body, and its karmas. All this is pure consciousness. The human body is made up of karma. Karma is nothing but a vibratory state of mind. Karma is nothing but a vibratory state of mind. The mind is nothing but the ego self. The ego self is nothing but the chitta, the mind stuff, or the cosmic mind. The cosmic mind is nothing but the self who is supremely auspicious, all-pervading, and eternal.
Stopped. Finished that chapter.
My book ends with that, Raghuji.
Yeah, I know. This book also ends. So,
Okay.
what is the commentary?
Yeah. So this reminds me of something that we do in the Self-Realization Fellowship, where there is one saying that Paramahamsa Yogananda tells us to keep repeating. He says, Divine Father, you have created me in your vision. So you have created me in your mind. I am no different from you. You and I are one. So how can I be different? This is exactly the same thing. He says there is no difference between the individual soul and the absolute self or Brahman himself. And there is no difference between the individual soul and the chitta, the mind stuff. There is no difference between the soul and its body and its karmas. So they are all one. This is all that we think of karma. The mind is all, again, our own imagination.
Yeah. Correct. So if the gold is formed into a little idol or a form, like let us say an elephant, then you think, oh, I am the elephant. Okay. But is the elephant different from the gold, the main gold? Okay. Once you realize I am the gold, then I am not the elephant, I am just the gold. So the same way, if you expand your mind and say that look at our own human body. Everything is formed out of food. Okay. But you can look at the eyes, you can look at the nose, you can look at the tongue, you can look at the liver and kidney. All are separate. But are they different from food? They are just the result of food, and they are food. Actually, they can become food for somebody else also. So, like that, the big paragraph, the middle paragraph, is talking about that the descending order, how this world has come about from Brahman to the Chitta, from Chitta to Jiva, from Jiva to the duality of the world and me. And the last paragraph, it takes you backwards. The human body, the karmas, and karmas come from the mind, and from the mind comes from that chitta, the cosmic mind, and cosmic mind is nothing but the total self. You can look at the descending order or go back to the ascending order and realize that Brahman, Ahamasmi. Anybody want to comment or discuss?
Well, I have one question. At one point, it says it is Brahman is everything. We see so many characters here. We are all Brahman. So, can I assume it is like a play? The same actor is taking so many different roles, like Raghuji and Nag and Akila, and everybody is the same Brahman acting different characters?
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But each character has its own role to play. Like in a play, the director already told them what they have to do, what is their performance going to be on the stage. So every individual is acting as per the director's instruction and interact with the other characters. So the same way here in this world, I'm interacting with everybody around me because the Brahman already decided what he's going. Say here it is the Brahman itself is acting. So he decided what my role going to be today and what Raghuji's role going to be today and interacting on the stage. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. But at the same time, you have to remember that if you think that I'm just playing the role, of an actor, but I am not this actor in reality. Then what do? Then you don't have any attachment to that role. Then you play the role very well without being attached. Example, let us say you are a lover and there's a beautiful girl, okay? You are just playing the role of a lover, okay? And don't get attached to her. And then after this movie is over, she is a completely different person. She's some other person. Okay, you don't go after her. You are my love. Okay, like that. That if you understand the role that I am in this body as jiva, and that I have a role to play, then naturally you will play well. Otherwise, we get attached and we mess up the play of the Bhagavan, the direction of the
see,
Bhagavan.
see the problem is I can play some roles and I know I'm just acting so I can be aloof. But in certain roles when I play, I get attached. The family attachment and everything.
Right.
That is a tough thing. Everything else, I can realize it is not real. I'm
Yes.
just acting. But in some places, it's very hard.
Yeah, I agree with you. Same thing with all of us. And so that's why this world is there as a practice for us to practice our goal of life. Now we understand it, okay, and we attend all these satsangs so that we can renew our understanding, so that we don't forget it. And then in the next 24 hours, 48 hours, until we take another satsang, then we continue to practice what we have done. And that practice is not going to happen, change is not going to happen overnight. It may take even years and lives. But if you look back at it, then you will understand, hey, I'm definitely a better person now than I was 10 years ago. Okay.
If you really see everybody as Brahman, then what you are saying is attachment, detachment are not going to come. First of all, we don't have that in us. We sit here and read and talk and all that. Maybe little bit of it has gone into this mind and practice. But really, really, we are not at the level where you can see everybody as Brahman, like you see yourself as Brahman. That is where I see the difficulty for all of us, and I see the difficult part of us to keep practicing to get to that point. Then there is no attachment, there is no detachment comes in. The attachment, all that comes in because you are still struggling with that. You are still having the problem. So that's the one, you can sit like Akila said, you can sit and tell yourself 100 times, I'm the Brahman and I am the same, God and I am the same,
Nope,
but
it doesn't happen.
That's not going to change you. That's
Correct.
not going to change anyone. You means I'm not saying you or you. I'm talking about general you. It is not going to change me. Yes, I am lot better than you are talking about 15, 20 years ago. Definitely I'm better because of all the satsangs I attend, because of all the things I do. I'm not saying that, but it is a progression. But I'm not anywhere near what we are talking about sitting here today. That's
Yeah,
No,
my
see,
I think it helps.
opinion.
I think it
what,
helps us
what
with
I'm
the
trying to do
embodiment.
is we cannot say we are all Brahman, but the first step I am trying to think is that we are acting. It is not real, it is just an act. But then I took one step further. I'm saying it's Brahman is the one playing multiple roles. So it is not real, it is just a drama. I am playing my role. Already the director told me what I should be doing, what I should be telling, whom I should be interacting with. So then I said the director himself is taking multiple roles. But the first step is I have to 100% convince what I'm doing is the role play directed by some director.
Can I add it to this one? Of course, the director has made us to make, but we are not acting according to the director. We are acting according to our karmas, what we have done.
Not necessarily out of karma, out of our desires and attachments.
Right. I mean, everything,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So God has just made us, but He is not directing how to behave or what we need to do.
Yeah, he is
We are,
directing in the sense it is because of that pure consciousness that we are active. Okay. But other direction, yes, as we become purified and purified, then more and more of the God's will and direction you see in your thoughts and actions. But otherwise, like you said, that it is mostly our own what do you call past karmas and current desires. So
I think
Prabhuji, I
Manoj,
think
can I say something? Manoj, you said that from what I said, you won't get it. That is true. But what Paramahamsa ji says that when you keep repeating that, and when your Chitta Shuddhi has come to that perfect level, the grace of the Guru is the only one that will take you to the next step. Just going and doing all this is not going to. That is where the grace of the Guru comes.
yeah,
Grace, there are 4 graces, as I told before also in Tejo Mayananda Swami's book always says, grace of Guru, grace of God, grace of scriptures, grace of self-effort. 4 of them he talks about in his
yeah.
book.
Grace
So
of
first we make the self effort, but eventually the grace of the Guru will transcend you to that level.
yeah, importance is self-effort here. I think
Self-effort.
self-effort has kind of unwinds the other graces and the shraddha and the burning desire is very important here.
yeah,
Prabhuji, I think I just want to add, from last few verses that the sections that we read, it kind of again resonates what we saw in Ashtavakra Gita about the 7th stage of realization from the jiva to the pure consciousness.
yeah,
Raghuji, that's where.
yeah. The same thing comes in this Yoga Vashishta also 7 stages of
Yeah.
Yeah, I think how I see this to kind of comment on Nagji's thought process, like the more and more we through Jnana Marga, there's a gradual stage in our thought process, the mindfulness brings in, and then we are more aware, the knowledge and it takes away the ignorance. So the awareness is always there, the mindfulness is there. So that's what is brings a shift in the way you look your life, the life around you, and then it's a gradual process. But it is more that it brings in that awareness, mindfulness to your the way you think.
yeah, yeah. Everything depends upon the percentage of time that you are mindful. You are living in the current with clear understanding that you are Brahman. So, as we continue to practice, as that thought process continues to become more and more inwards, less of the world and more of the inner thought that Aham Brahmasmi, and then naturally progress accelerates.
Raghuji, can I say something?
Yes, Amma.
Okay. See, when we say I'm Brahman, it's not going to work. Of course, it's not going to work. First thing is we have to realize what is Brahman. Okay. And then, as Swami Swarupanandaji says, Sarvapriyanandaji says, manifest divinity in every action.
Yes.
So every action you're doing, see that Brahman is doing it. He is giving that energy to you. You are not the doer. So if you keep doing that, you will realize I'm not the doer. Everything is happening because of him only, and I am that. And in one of the Vedantic books that I was reading, it says, Ashariram Sharire. I am that Atma Ashariram, without any body, but in this body. So when you keep saying, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind,
then who are you? I am that Ashariram in this body. And I am pervading everything. It's not just this body. If you meditate on like that and try to divinize every action, it will help. And about this grace, Guruji has always said to me, of course, there are 4 kinds of graces that Manu was talking about. Of that, 2 are very, very important. However much effort we put, it is not going to work unless you have the grace of 2 Gs, as Guruji said, God and Guru.
And Guru.
Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, Amma. Yeah, only one more thing I'm going to say. When I say Aham Brahmasmi, it's not that Raghu is Brahman, that Brahman, the pure consciousness, bliss, existence, bliss, that Brahman Ahamasmi. That we have to clearly understand when we say that. Okay.
Yeah, maybe one comment on, say, after all this satsang, right, nowadays, whenever I say, I did it, I did that, right, then suddenly there's a, something comes up in bright, no, you are not. So, it is all God's grace. This satsang is really, at least for me, it is helping me whenever I just claim that, oh, I did it, that, right? Suddenly it actually comes into all these teachings, all our satsang actually really trigger in my brain.
Good.
Yeah, you are not. Okay,
Good.
so then I changed my tack of it. So this satsang is really helpful. It's a long way, but at least we are on the right track. That I'm happy on that.
Very good. Just a joke, but if you make a mistake, don't say Brahman did it.
I normally always I accept the fact. Otherwise, I will not be able to change it.
Yeah.
So my
Okay.
mistake.
So fortunately, Swamiji is summarizing in the next 2.5 pages what we have covered and where we are going. So we're going to read that and finish this class. And Ashwin is not here, Nuli is not here today. So many people are not here. Dinesh ji, you want to continue, sir?
Anjaneyulu varu unnaru.
Oh, Anjaneyulu is here. Anjaneyulu, sir, you want to read?
Yeah, Hari Om Raghuji.
Hari Om, sir.
Introduction. In the Balakanda section of the Ramayana, it is stated that Sri Rama was given spiritual instructions by sage Vashishta. Yoga Vashishta is a complete and separate work in itself in the teaching. While the Ramayana, the epic poem more popularly known throughout the India and the world, describes the life and adventures of Sri Rama, the Yoga Vashishta presents his inner realization in detail for those who wish to intensify their spiritual life and deepen their understanding. A vast work of approximately 32,000 verses, the Yoga Vashishta was written by the great poet sage Valmiki, as was the Ramayana about 500 BC or earlier. The Yoga Vashishta, which is virtually unknown in the West due to the scarcity of its English translations, it is also known by the names of Maharamayana, Uttara Ramayana, Harsha Ramayana, Jnana Vashishta, Vashishta Ramayana, and Vashishta. But whatever you choose to call it, it is the earliest detailed work of Yoga Vedanta that gives a magnificent exposition of the subtleties and insights of that philosophy, with a majestic sweep that has never been equaled in any metaphysical work since. Shall I stop, Raghuji?
Just read one more paragraph.
Every kind of exposition is employed in its presentation. Didactic instruction, answers to doubts, parables, and stories within stories. Here, for example, the interlocking system of stories within stories enhances the vision of the worlds within worlds and of the infinitely complex world of the mind itself arising from the cosmic mind. Many key points of this metaphysical instruction are touched upon over and over again with increasingly deeper meanings. Therefore, the work appears to move in vast spirals, ultimately culminating in the self-realization of Sri Rama.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So let's continue to read. And Dinesh ji, you want to continue, sir?
In Vairagya Prakarana of Volume 1, it will be remembered that sage Vashishta asked Sri Rama to express the reasons of his depressed state of mind. At this, Sri Rama elaborated upon the transiency and essencelessness of all objects of the world. All that he once thought to be of value and a source of happiness has, through the vision of his penetrative intellect, become nothing but a source of emptiness and misery. In the first section, therefore, Sri Rama has taken what is normally the most valued aspects of life and has shown how illusory they are. The purpose here is to promote dispassion, vairagya, in the aspirant. Such vairagya considers all pleasures of the world, from the lowest form of life to the highest, that of Brahma and Brahma the Creator, as insignificant and illusory. This is the first and fundamental requirement on the path of wisdom that leads to self-realization. In the second section, Mumukshu Prakarana, it has been shown that certain qualifications are necessary for an aspirant before he can effectively move on the path toward the state of immortality or self-realization. Sage Vashishta therefore elaborated on the four most important qualifications, those of serenity, contentment, spiritual inquiry, and good association. Hari Om.
Yeah, beautiful, very nice. And who is next? Mano Naidu?
Okay. In addition, Mumukshu Prakarna elaborated on how the aspirant should not rely on destiny, rather on his own self-effort. The self within is unlimited, and each person has that same potential within. All that is needed to unlock that infinite potential and creativity is repeated self-effort. In Utpatti Prakarana, sage Vasishta has shown how the world has evolved from and is sustained by the absolute through the limitations of the mind. And since the world is merely a projection of the mind, conditioned by the ignorance, when ignorance is overcome by intuitive wisdom, mind rediscovers its unity with the cosmic mind, and the individual merges into the absolute. At this point, the entire world process is remembered to be nothing but a long dream of the mind from which one has awakened. It was in this section that the first volume ended, and the present volume now continues. After completing Utpatti Prakarana, sage Vasishta goes into Sthiti Prakarana, which deals with the sustaining reality of the self, and then on into Upashama Prakarana, the topic dealing with the quiescence of the mind. Volume 3 will pick up here and will continue on into the last and final section, Nirvana Prakarana, the topic dealing with the final stage of Sri Rama's instruction from sage Vasishta and his ultimate enlightenment.
Very nice. You can see how the things are summarized, and that the various sections, their names and all that, if you had forgotten, the Vairagya Prakarana, Mumukshu Prakarana, Utpatti Prakarana, And we are still in that. And after this is completed, then we go into the Sthiti Prakarana, Upashama, and the last one, Nirvana Prakarana, which is the biggest. So, anybody want to add or comment? Shall we continue or shall we stop here today?
I think this will be a good breaking point, Raghuji.
Okay. So yeah, we still got 14 minutes, but we'll stop here. So we'll start in the next book, in the next class. But there will be no satsang next Tuesday
Oh, good.
because of the Swami Prakashanandji will be here. And so those who can make it, join and enjoy the satsang with Prakashanandji. And you can tell all the other friends and send the flyer and encourage them to join. And then we will meet in 2 weeks. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah
Sarve Santu Niramaya
Sarve Bhadrani
Pashyantu
Ma Kashyati Bhave Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Mudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti